Good morning. It is Friday, February 19th. I'm Jason Stanton. I serve as senior pastor at First Lutheran in Onalaska, Wisconsin. This is my morning musing. And I was just thinking about this devotion from our Lenten devotional, Again and Again, a Lenten refrain. This week of Ash Wednesday, it's the ongoing theme for the few devotions in here is again and again, we're invited in. And I was thinking about, first of all, I was thinking about how good it is to be invited. That's always a positive to want that someone would include me. And then the first paragraph of this one I'm reading from Pastor Lauren Wright Pittman is, again and again, we are invited inward. The common thread here is the focus on expressing love for God in secret, not for the recognition of others, but as an outpouring of devotion for God alone. This is based on Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 to 21. It's the text we used in Ash Wednesday. Not for recognition from others, but as an outpouring of devotion for God. That we're called to not simply display our faith, our faithfulness, our faith practices, but instead that those practices will be done authentically for the sake of growing a relationship with God, which that's what faith is. And it made me think about, it's really getting at, that text is really getting at intent. Do we intend to really grow our relationship with God? Or do we take on a Lenten discipline, for example, in order to be seen by others or in order to do what we're supposed to do? And it made me think of a conversation I had recently with a young person, and actually not just one young person. It made me think of a bigger picture too. A lot of times we get down on the younger generations. I think that's just normal for middle-aged people like me and older to look at the up-and-coming young adults and assume kind of the worst of them, because oftentimes we see ourselves and how we were perhaps naive or green and think that's all they are too. And so, a lot of times we might look at the 20-somethings or even 30-somethings and be like, you don't get it. I mean, that's just normal for the older generations to think of 20 and 30-somethings. But some of the least helpful and I think least true judgments that middle-agers and older put on our 20 and 30-somethings is that they're not willing to work hard, for example, or there's just a lot of negative things we put on you. The thing I've been thinking most about with this devotion in mind is how the 20 and 30-somethings that I read about and who I know, just anecdotally, they are really authentic people. Their intent, whether they're trying to, become a pastor as a seminarian, or whether they're trying to chase a dream of teaching or as an engineer or a police officer, the different 20 and 30-somethings I know, they aren't as caught up in the peer pressure stuff as my generation was. I can't really speak to, generations older than mine, but there was a far more kind of one-size-fits-all world, I think, in our past, where, in order to be popular, you had to be a jock playing multiple sports. In order to succeed, you had to do certain things, be certain ways. And church, for example, was just something everybody did. I mean, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and even into the 80s, you look at what church attendance was, it was like everybody did that. Was everybody's intent really pure? Were they all really trying to express devotion for their God, or were many of them there just trying to be seen by others? Was church just a place to network? The church has decreased in numbers over the last 40 years. I'm not sure it's decreased in authenticity. Those who are a part of congregations, those who claim to be a believer in God. I think they really are. And I'm not sure that maybe was as true 40, 50 years ago. I see our young people being more honest about what they believe, who they want to be, and then actually being that. And that's what the devotion is about today. It's saying, express yourself from true intent, and your behavior will be true and authentic as well. And so I guess maybe that's something the younger generation can teach somebody like me, who in many ways I'm a conformist. I see how I'm supposed to be, and I live into that. And I think the majority of people are conformists. That's why there is something to conform to. And the truth that God gifts us so individually and uniquely, and that's beautiful. Maybe all of us could take some lessons from young people and remember there's space within God's grace and love for me to be me, and that I don't have to simply do this or do that, but I can do what I feel called and gifted to do. So that's what I've been thinking about as I feel invited again and again inward, not only to recognize who I am, but then to be that in my relationship with God. I invite you to keep faith alive.